There's lots of ways to create layers in a one-layer card. With the help of my latest sketch starter, I'm going to give you 2 ideas that'll really get you thinking. Before we get started, I wanted to share a brief note about this sketch. It is a slimline card, which is all the rage right now, but slimline isn't new. We used to call them tall and skinny or long and skinny. Either way, slimlines have been around for quite a while. This is the size that I prefer for my slimlines. It's a 7 by 7 square for my card base. So that means when I fold it, I have a 7 by 3.5 inch card base. And it makes for a really nice canvas that isn't too big, so I'm not feeling like I've got a ton of space to fill. So let's get started with my 2 projects. For my first take, here's the supplies I'll be using. Obsidian Black pigment ink, the You and Me mini stamp set, Script Words 2 dies, the Rock Collection enamel dots, some watercolor card, the Essentials watercolors, a jet black artist marker, and a water brush. So I have here my watercolors all ready to go, and I'm going to start with the Persian blue. And basically what I'm going to do with this take is create a kind of a stained glass look where you've got layers of color over each other and they're going to blend together. So I'm going to start by freehanding this large rectangle from the sketch. And if you don't have confidence in your freehanding, you can always put in some pencil lines to guide you and then come back and erase them when your project is dry. So I'm just going to get that square done up. And I'm really eyeballing this. I'm not taking any measurements from the sketch. I'm just saying, well, it takes up about 1/3 of the space or slightly less, and there's a little bit of a gap on both sides, so I'm going to make that gap. And because I've interpreted this A2 size design as a slimline, I know that I'm going to have less on the top. So once I've got this all in place, now I can fill in the rest of my color here and blend this out. And I'm doing this as a wet on dry technique, so the card base itself is dry. And that's helping me to keep some nice crisp lines around the edges here. And then once I have this all filled in like I do, I can come back in and smooth out any lines. And then just give this a minute or 2 to dry, so when I put on my next layer, it doesn't blend into it. Now that my first layer is mostly dry, I'm going to work in my second layer, and that is the square element on the left side. So I'm going to use Citrus Burst, and since that is yellow and we've already laid down blue, that means that when these 2 colors come together, they will create a beautiful shade of green. So I want to start by marking out my square, and again, I'm just kind of eyeballing this, and I know that about half of it is going to go above the blue and a half of it is going to go into the blue. So if I start by creating my square that goes above and then work my way into the blue below, then I know that I will try to keep my contamination as minimized as possible. So now I have the yellow complete here. I'm going to start working my way into the blue. So very carefully, I will mark out my line again, making sure that my square looks about right. And at this point, it's really important to make sure that I don't put my brush into the yellow up here because it's going to contaminate it and turn it green. At some point, we will get a little bit of a blend, which is what we're looking for, but I don't want it quite yet. So now I'm just going to fill this in, and I'm allowing the yellow and the blue to blend together and turn into a shade of green. And now that I have it worked up to the line, I'm going to add in a final bit of yellow and then smooth this all out and allow it to kind of move up into the yellow part of the square. All right, for the third layer, we've got another small rectangle that's going to overlap the 2 existing pieces. So I'm going into Lagoon, which is a blue-green color, and it's going to mix with both of these colors to create some really beautiful shades. So again, I'm going to start in the area where the pure lagoon is going to show and set that up first. And now that I've got that line established, I can go ahead and fill this in and then work my way down into the blue. And this one isn't so bad, mixing these two colors together. You're not going to get such a drastic change between the two of them that a blend wouldn't be bad. There we go. And then I'll move the rest of this into the yellow and the green. And so we're really getting a mix of all of the colors together right in this little quadrant here. So again, I'll kind of let these melt together and blend. There we go. Now I just need to let this dry and we can finish up the card. Now that my panel is all dry, I've got it mounted to my card base and it is ready to go to finish. So I'm going to start by adding in some spatter, and instead of using the black watercolor, I decided to use my black artist marker. So I just take the brush end and a piece of window sheet and I scrape it along the edge and I get these beautiful little spatters all over. And I really like these because it doesn't spread as much with the alcohol ink and I can really control where I want it to go. There we go, that's pretty good. So those will dry in almost an instant. Now I want to go ahead and add on my sentiment. So I'm going to open up my card all the way so I have a nice flat place for it to lay. And then I want to also add in my other script sentiment from the script words too. So I pulled out the Fabulous and I've got this die cut in some jet black cardstock. So now I just am going to attach this and I am using my liquid adhesive. And as you can see, I don't have to get it everywhere, just enough places that it's going to stay down. And that's going to go right into our block here on the top. There we go. So now I can add in the rest of my sentiment, and I decided to use the Always and Forever sentiment from the You and Me mini stamp set. So this will say Fabulous, Always and Forever, and I thought that was just an amazing sentiment. So I'm going to align it so that it goes just below this block here. And isn't that just so darling? So really, I continue to have this one layer card, and I'm just going to add in a few enamel dots to finish it off. And I thought I would go with some of the darker colors here. So I'll go with a medium and a small. And then over on the other side here, I'll add in one of the large ones to help balance the whole composition out. So there you go, our first take on this slimline sketch. For my second project, here's the products I'll be using. Obsidian pigment ink, the black artist marker again, the You and Me stamp set, the Rock Collection enamel dots, script words, and instead of watercolor, this time we'll be using the Sweet Dreams washi tape. So did you notice that the only thing that changes between the last card and this card is that we're not using watercolor, we're using the washi tape instead. So I've got my card base and I have some temporary adhesive on the inside to help keep it closed while I'm working on it. And I'm going to use the washi tape to create those 3 squares that are a part of the sketch. So I'm going to take the lightest color here, and this is the Sweet Dreams washi tape set. And I'm going to make that rectangle using this washi. Now that rectangle in the sketch is a little bit wider, so I am going to do some overlapping, and that's going to help bring in some depth and dimension. And that looks pretty good. If I want to, I could lift this up a little bit and even out this line, but I think I'm just going to leave it because the organic rip of the washi tape looks pretty nice that way. Then I'm going to take one of these medium colors, it doesn't really matter which, and I'm going to use this to create the square. So again, I'm just going to rip off a piece and kind of mark out where that square is going to go, and then try to rip it off using my finger here to make it more of a square look. And I can add 2 pieces or 3 pieces, whatever I need to accomplish that square look. So I'm going to actually kind of overlap 3 pieces and try to make sure that the second piece overlaps. So that way I'm trying to keep that line. And then again, I'm going to rip it on the edge here and then add a 3rd piece to get that square look. There we go. So now I have my long rectangle and now I have the square that's over it. And I'm going to take the darkest shade here and I'm going to add in just a single strip for that 3rd layer. And what's really cool about this is that you're getting all these different overlapping parts. So you're getting all these different shades of color, but yet you still have those 3 core pieces, the big long rectangle, the square, and then the short rectangle. So that's all I need to do with my washi tape. Now I'm going to take my artist marker again and add in some spatter. So just like last time, I'm using a piece of clear acetate and running it against the nib to get some spatter on my card. There we go. And now all I need to do is add on my final pieces. So I have my thanks die cut out from the die collection, and I don't want it to say thanks. I want it to say thank you. So I'm going to actually just snip off the S here because I don't need it. And then I will go ahead and glue this to the card. Now I am using a liquid glue because I find that over time, this is what sticks best to washi tape. It's going to take a little longer to dry and it might have the tendency to slip around a little bit. So if you're using liquid glue like I am, you just need to be careful that you don't move it around too much and that you give it ample time to dry. So pop this guy in place. He's going to go right on that rectangle just like we did with the last card. There we go. And I'm going to let that sit. And while we're waiting, I'm going to go ahead and take the U from this You and Me stamp set and a little scrap of white and my obsidian black. And I'm just going to stamp that onto the corner here. There we go. And then I can cut this out. Just freehand it. It's such a small little piece. It doesn't need to be perfectly angled on every side. A little bit of hand cutting adds some whimsy to the project. And then I'm going to add those on with some foam adhesives. So these I will pop right over the edge of the K, and that's going to help hide any of the cut edge that I have there. So cute. And then I can add in some more enamel dots just like I did on the previous card. So I'll go ahead and use these light colors this time and kind of a similar grouping. I'll do a medium and a small. There we go. And then I'll grab one of these large ones and add it over to this side here. So there we go. 2 amazing slimline cards with layers that aren't really layers. If you enjoyed my 2 takes on the slimline sketch, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. When you're creating projects of your own, don't forget to use the hashtag #AllTooNewSketchStarters out on social media. You can also tag AllTooNewLLC and Pixel Mavens Retreat. We'd love to see what you're creating. Thanks so much for exploring this sketch with me. Until next time, happy crafting.
Hello crafters, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything. Thanks for watching!